Okay, good morning. Our learning is in the Nishmas Mindel, Mariam Haskal and Ruvain, Hanasham Shabaliyah. We are on the bottom of Kuf Yud Zayin and Beis. If you recall, yesterday we had a machlokas about how many meals to eat on Shabbos. We had the opinion of the Rabbanan who said 3 meals, and we had the opinion of Rav Chidka, another Tana who says 4 meals. Okay, according to him, you have 1 meal a night and 3 during the day. Imagine that, right? So imagine that in a 3-day Yom Tov, we'd have 4 meals. Go figure. Okay, fine. So the Gemara now is going to try to show that our Mishnah does not fit with Rav Chidka. Okay, now again, Rav Chidka is a Tana, so he doesn't have to fit with our Mishnah, but nonetheless, the Gemara is going to try to prove whether or not our Mishnah fits with Rav Chidka. So last few words on Kuf Yud Zayin Mabez, or 117b4. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Naflat Lake of Shabbos, if a fire breaks out on Friday night, okay, Matzil Mazon, Shalosh Sudos, we save food for 3 meals. So my lav lo achal. Presumably, we're talking about a case where the person has not yet eaten, and yet you're saving 3 meals. So if you're saving 3 meals, you haven't eaten yet, who does it go like? The Rabbanan or Chidka? The Rabbanan, because the implication is that there are 3 meals to be eaten throughout the whole day. The Gemara says, no, that's not definitive. Lo, da'achal. We're talking about a case where a person already had his Friday night meal, and still you could save 3 meals, so that would still be consistent with Rav Chidka. So the Gemara says, okay, let's bring it from the next line. It's a little hard to understand why the Gemara thought that any of the next lines are a better proof than the first one, but okay. So the Gemara says, Shachrus matzil mazon shtei seudos. The Gemara says, if a fire breaks out in the morning, you could save food for 2 meals. My lav lo achal. Presumably, we're talking about a case where a person did not yet eat the second meal, and still you're saving 2 meals. Okay, so presumably, once again, the Mishnah would seem to be saying that there's only 2 meals left, which would say that if you ate 1 meal Friday night and 2 meals left in the day, that would go like the Rabbanan, not like Rav Chidka. The Gemara says, lo da'achal. We're talking about a case where a person ate the second meal already, and you're still saving for 2 meals, i.e., 4 meals, so this is consistent with Rav Chidka. Gemara says, "B'mincha matzil mazon suda achas." If a fire breaks out in the afternoon, you could save meal of food for only 1 meal. My lav de lo achal. We're talking about a case where a person only ate the morning meal but did not eat the afternoon meal, and therefore, again, like the Rabbanan, not like Rav Chidka. The Gemara says, "Lo de achal." We're talking about a person where a person ate already the afternoon meal, and now they still have 1 meal left. Okay, and therefore there is no raya. So that's the Gemara B'Hamnitani Seifa, the fact that it says at the end of the Mishnah of Yosi Omer La'olam Atzila Mazon Shalosh Seudos, a person is always allowed to save 3 meals. Miklal Tanakama Shalosh Svirle. So again, the fact that the last line of the Mishnah of Yosef, if you recall, from yesterday, the Tanakama said you could only save the amount of meals you're still going to eat on that Shabbos, and Yosef said, no, across the board, you're always allowed to save 3 meals. Now, by saying you're always allowed to save 3 meals, the implication is the Tanakama was also saying 3 meals, just he was saying it depends what part of the time of the day it is, right? The Tanakama was saying, if you already had Friday night meal, you could only do 2 more meals. But the fact that Rav Yossi says you could always save 3 meals implies that the Tanakama holds 3 meals. And the Gemara says, you're right, you're right, our Mishnah does not go like Rav Chidka. Again, Rav Chidka is a Tana. He doesn't have to fit with our Mishnah. We're just pointing out that our Mishnah does not go like Rav Chidka. Okay, now the Gemara goes further in this discussion. Like this, a bit of both Rav Chidka and the Tanakh and the Chachamim agree that on Shabbos you eat more meals than you do during the weekday. During the weekday, back in the day, it was understood that they would eat 2 meals. We have 3 meals typically. They would eat 1 meal in the morning and 1 meal at the end of the day, and that's it. But both the Tanakhama, both the Chacham and Rav Chidka agree on Shabbos to do more. Chacham say 3, Rav Chidka says 4. Okay, but the Gemara now asks, "Vad it's not." We learned in the Mishnah, "Mishiyesh lo mazon shtei seudos lo yital min hatamchoy." Okay, so back in the day, there was what we call like a food platter. The tamchoy literally means a food platter. It essentially means there was like a soup kitchen function in a community. The function of a soup kitchen was a person literally had no food. They're allowed to take from the soup kitchen, what is known as a tamchoy, literally the food platter. Okay, and then there is something called the kupa, which is a charity box, which is a person who doesn't have has enough food for the day, but they would give the person food for as we'll see for a week. Okay, so those are two types of ways of supporting people. So it says the Mishnah, a person has enough food for 2 meals is not allowed to take from the communal platter, i.e. the soup kitchen. Okay, so if you have enough food for the day, you're not allowed to take that. That food platter is only for people who have no food for the day. However, mazon arba esrei lo yitzam kupa. If you have enough for 14 meals, i.e. 14 meals, this means 1 week's worth of food, right? 2 meal, 14 divided by 2, right, is 1 week. Then you're not allowed to take from the charity box, right? If you have less than food for a week, you'd be allowed to take from the kupa. Okay, this is where the word like kupa sa'ir, and you like kupa's hair, and this one is skip that. They used to skip that apostrophe. Okay, kupa's hair, from whatever. Okay, fine. Fine. Anyway, it's called fine. Bottom line is that's where the kupa comes from. It's the box. There's a box, and essentially, if you had less food than a week, you're allowed to take from it. But again, what does it say? How much food do you have for a week? 14 meals. Okay, so who is this? Money. Lo Rabbanan, v'lo Rav Chidka. This doesn't fare with the Rabbanan or Rav Chidka. I Rabbanan, chamasrei havyan. There would have to be 15 meals, right? According to Rabbanan, there are 15 meals, right? Because if there is, if you have 2 meals a day, then on Shabbos you have 3 meals, then that's 15. I Rav Chidka, shisrei havyan. According to Rav Chidka, there are 16 meals. So which one is it, right? Yeah, you hear the question? Bottom line is, this Mishnah is telling us if a person has food for a week, they can't take from the kupa. But nobody holds you have 2 meals on Shabbos. Everyone holds you have 3 or 4 meals. So this Mishnah does not fit with either one. So Gemara says, L'olam Rabbanan. Really, it's going like the Rabbanan. Amrinale, we say to the person, my device lamechal ba'apuke shabsa, achle b'shabsa. What you are planning on eating, now again, 2 meals a day would mean that you're having 1 meal in the morning, 1 meal at night, right? So what we tell the person is what the meal you are going to eat after Shabbos, i.e. the night meal, eat it a little bit earlier, and now you have shal shudis, right? Now you might ask, we also have an idea of malav malka. Malav malka, everyone agrees that's already extra. Ideally, you should have it, but it's only if you can afford it. We're not the kupa. The community is not going to support the shal shudis. Malav malka. Okay, so basically, tell him damina lege in my device lemecha ba'puke shabsa, where you're going to eat after Shabbos, i.e. that night meal. Achle b'Shabbos, eat it on Shabbos for the third meal, and you'll be full. You had shal shudis. Most people are not hungry from lav malka. Fine, good. So lemer rabbanan hi v'lo Rav Chidka. So now we'll say this Mishnah now goes like with Rabbanan, not Rav Chidka. The Gemara says no. I feel a tamer Rav Chidka. Really, now you could say it's really Rav Chidka as well. Zamrina, we could tell the person another thing. My device lemechal b'malei shabsa achel urta. What you were going to eat Friday morning, eat that instead on Friday night. Right, so you could still get away with 15 meals, and on Shabbos, on Friday, instead of eating in the morning, eat at night. Ask the Gemara. We're going to make the person fast the entire Friday. Now, there are people who do fast, but that's not a very nice thing to do. That's already pushing it. So the Gemara says, no, you know what? Elohamani Rabbi Kivahi. So really, we're going to say now, the way to say that this Mishnah is either Rav Chidka or the Rabbanan is to say it's Rabbi Kiva. To Amar, who said, Aseh Shabbat chachol v'al titzarach labrios. Rabbi Kiva went ahead and said that it is more the importance of not relying on others when it comes to tzedakah. Okay, and basically he says when it comes to taking from tzedakah, it's better that you eat a non-Shabbos-like meal during the week. On Shabbos, you don't eat a Shabbos-like meal. You eat just regular. Eat your whatever. Eat your macaroni and cheese and eat your whatever. Better to do that than to depend on other people. And therefore, enacharami. Rabbi Kiva says that we institute that. Meaning it's not just a piece of advice, but this is what we institute. I remember once I was like, okay, I'll say whatever. I was in Kol at the time, and I was in a certain shul, and the Rav got up to speak, and he said I was in line, and I saw and it was before Yom Tov, and the person in front of me was a Rebbe, and he was only ordering chicken and not roast for Yom Tov. So I was like, I haven't had roast for Yom Tov. I was in Kol. I don't know. I had chicken. What's it called? But he was like, we have to support it. I don't know. I'm not sure. We don't have to support it. Meaning it's not, at least requiring, I don't think we possibly keep it. So I think he was sort of right in the sense that we don't force a person to do that, but that is the ideal. The ideal is that on the receiving end, if you don't have enough, you don't take tzedakah to be able to have a roast on Shabbos or Yom Tov. You have macaroni and cheese, and that's okay. Better to do that than to depend on other people's charity. Okay, that's Rabbi Kiva's ruling. And again, he's speaking not only to the recipient. That is the institutionalized ruling that we go ahead, and that's how we support them in a way that they would have a regular meal on Yom Tov or Shabbos. Okay, but it's not. Okay, so let's go. That we said. Okay, and we're going to another Mishnah that discusses tzedakah giving, which we're going to have to reconcile or try to reconcile with Rav Chidka and the Rabbanan. Ein postin now again other halachos about poor people traveling through a city. Ein postin la'ani ha'over mimakom lemakom mikikar befundion me'arba in besela. Okay, so a person's passing through the city, a poor person passing through the city. We also have an obligation to support them, right? We give them a loaf of bread that costs a pundion and 4 sahs of flour costs a sela. Okay, we're not going to get into all the calculations. Bottom line is we give the person a loaf of bread to eat during the day. We don't let a person walk through our city without giving them something to eat. Lan, if the person stays overnight, no still lo parnasas lina, we give the person provisions for night lodging. We'll see what that is soon. If him shavas, the person spends Shabbos in the city, no still lo mizon shalosh sudos. We give the person 3 meals. Lemer rabbanan hiv lo Rav Chidka. So this Mishnah seems to go like the Rabbanan. Now Rav Chidka says 3 meals. The Gemara says no. Lo olam Rav Chidka. Really, it's Rav Chidka. Because the person perhaps is traveling with a meal. The person didn't come empty-handed. They came with a granola bar in their pocket. They have a meal. So we say we give the person 3 meals, but we tell the person eat 1 meal already, of your own, right? Meaning eat 1 meal of your own. So the Gemara asks, if that's so, we force the person to eat the 1 meal he has. That means when he's going to leave, right? If he's going to end up having 4 meals on Shabbos, because that's where Rav Chidka holds he has to do, and we only give him 3 meals, and the 1 meal he's carrying with him, that granola bar, we say, you got to eat that meal. So we let the person leave the community empty-handed? Where it says, no. We're just talking about what to give the person on Shabbos, 3 meals plus the food that he has. We force the person, we say, we can't give you food unless you're really out. And so we say, you have to eat that granola bar. That's your meal. I hope granola bar is a meal for some people, right? Fine, that's the meal, and that's okay. But then, when he leaves, we give him another meal. Okay, fine. So therefore, the Gemara says this also fits with Rav Chidka. Now the Gemara asks, my parnasas lina, what does it mean, provisions for night lodging? Amra papa, puria uve sadi. We give the person a bed and a pillow. Okay, very important. The community has to make sure that they care for even the people passing through, even the poor people passing through. Baruch Hashem, our community has many like homes, etc., that either private citizens or public institutions which house people who come through the city. That is the appropriate thing. That is what we are obligated to do. Okay, Tanar Banan. Okay, very, very relevant halacha about washing dishes on Shabbos. Okay, what are we allowed to wash? You use dishes on Shabbos night, or are you allowed to wash them after the meal? Or are you allowed to wash dishes Shabbos day? What if you have other dishes? Are you allowed to wash those dishes? So the Gemara is going to get into discussion of washing dishes, which I think comes up. Tanar Banan. We learned in the Brayso. If you ate with dishes on Friday night, you're allowed to wash them to eat them in the morning. Okay, so after the meal, you're allowed to wash them so they can be eaten in the morning. So you can use them in the morning. Shachris, medichal nachal b'hem tzarayim. If you ate, the morning meal, okay, you're allowed to wash them to use those dishes in the afternoon. But tzarayim, medichal nachal b'hem b'mincha. If you use dishes in the afternoon, you're allowed to wash them to eat in those dishes at mincha time, meaning let's say a long Shabbos, you can have another meal towards the end of the day. Mincha ve'elach shuvin mediach. From mincha onwards, you're no longer allowed to wash the dishes because they're not going to be used on Shabbos. That would be hachana. Avalkosos vikitonios utzlochios mediach ve'elach kol yom kulo. Cups, drinking ladles, and pitchers, basically things that are used for drinking, things that are going to be used the whole day, you're allowed to wash the whole day. Lefisha and kevel shtia, because people drink at all times, even not during the meal times. Okay, so let's just discuss this in more detail. So the bottom line is, what the halacha is if you cannot wash dishes, you're allowed to wash dishes that are going to be used for Shabbos. You're not allowed to wash dishes that are not going to be used for Shabbos. Okay, so the question though arises: what if a person has other dishes? Let's say you have Let's say you have some dishes and you want to wash those. Let's say you have dishes and you're going to use those dishes again the next day. You want to use those dishes the next day, but you also have other dishes. Do you have to use other dishes that are clean, or you let her wash those dishes? That is my big machlokes poskim. Rav Moshe is mekel and says if you want to use those dishes, even if you have other dishes, you would be allowed to wash those dishes to clean them, and that would be fine. So again, let's say Friday night you have your china that you use for Shabbos, you have your china used for Shabbos. You do have other dishes. You would be allowed to wash the china, even though you have other dishes that could be used. No, you're allowed to wash the ones that you want to wash, and that's totally fine. A couple of other relevant halachos over here. One is about, what did I want to share? So a couple of other things. Loading a dishwasher. Loading a dishwasher is a big discussion. Whether or not you're allowed to load the dishwasher, most poskim say that you are allowed to put things directly into your dishwasher. What you cannot do is anything that's preparing for after Shabbos. So scrubbing the dishes, according to most poskim, the vast majority of poskim, is not allowed, because scrubbing the dishes, why are you scrubbing the dishes? Because you're doing that to prepare for cleaning after Shabbos. So you are allowed to go and just leave them in your sink, and you can wash your hands over the sink or whatever it is, or you can put them directly into the dishwasher without scrubbing them. But you will not be allowed, according to most poskim, not be allowed to scrub them. Even when you put them in the dishwasher, you have to be careful not to put them directly in the dishwasher, because once you start stacking them in your sink, and then you start saying, okay, here's all the small plates, and put the small plates in one place, and the big plates in another place, you get into a borer issue. So you want to make sure you just take them off from the table, put them directly into the dishwasher, and that is fine. There is a few other things. One is if they're in a situation where you have a pileup of dishes and it looks embarrassing. Okay, so here there's a little bit of it's a little bit unclear as to where to draw the line, how embarrassing does it have to be. So there are poskim who would say that at that point you would be allowed to clean it, because you're not cleaning it for the sake. We saw this for making the bed. Are you making the bed for the next day, or are you're cleaning the dishes? Because it's embarrassing to come to a kitchen and there's dishes stacked everywhere. So therefore, they say if you have a lot of guests or whatever, it's going to be very embarrassing. Again, it's somewhat subjective, so I don't know. You have to figure out exactly where to draw the line. If it's very embarrassing, you would be allowed to wash the dishes because at that point, washing the dishes is not being done for tomorrow. You're doing it for right now. I don't want to look like a schlump, and therefore I don't want to have dishes. They say, I think from the Stipler, from Chaim Kanievsky, someone they say from someone that they say like a sign of beautiful a sign of shmir, a sign of like a beautiful what's the exact line, a beautiful blanking on the line, whatever, something along the lines of the fact that like a beautiful Shabbos look is a house filled with dirty dishes. In other words, they say like a similar story where like Rav Soloveitchik was walking in Boston one day and his hat fell off and his hat got like muddy and like he put it back on and one of his Taminim said like it's to be Zion, it's embarrassing. He said no, it's like to be Zion, it's a kavod Shabbos. I mean this is kavod Shabbos to show that I don't clean things on Shabbos. Okay. Lastly, if there is something which is going to get ruined like tarnished, like you have silver, right? So you have silver, you have a Kiddush cup or whatever it is, and it's going to get tarnished if you don't wash it. You are allowed to wash it because then it's getting ruined right now. You're not preparing for anything else. This is what you do after you use that dish. Okay, fine. I think that catches all the details. I think. Okay, let's go a little further. Amar Rav Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Rav Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum bar Kapara. Kol Mekayim Shalosh Seudos b'Shabbos Nitzal Mishalosh Peronios. A person who eats all 3 meals on Shabbos is spared from 3 misfortunes. Okay, what are those misfortunes? Mechevlo Shal Mashiach, from the travails of Mashiach. Umidina Shal Gehenim, from the judgment of Gehenim. Umelchemes Gog Umagog, and from the war of Gog Umagog. Okay, Mechevlo Shal Mashiach. What are the travails of Mashiach? How do you see that? Ksiv Hacha Yom. It says in regards to Shabbos meals to eat it today. Remember that was the source for the 3 meals was the word Yom. Ksiv Hasam regarding the coming Mashiach, which we have a tradition is not going to be an easy time. Hinei Anochi Sholech Lechem Es El Yonavi Lefnei Yom Hashem. So the Yom Hashem, you see that same word Yom, and so a person who eats that meal, eats one meal, is saved from the Chevel Mashiach, the difficulty, literally the birth pangs of Mashiach. Midina Shal Gehenim is also saved from the judgment of Gehenim. Ksiv Hacha Yom. It says here today. Ksiv Hasam Yom Evra Hayomahu. In regards to Gehenim, it says the day of anger is that day, and then in Melchemes Gog Umagog, that war that takes place at the end of days. Ksiv Hacha Yom. It says here again, the third meal is learned from the word Yom. Ksiv Hasam B'Yom Bo Gog. We're going to read soon in the Haftorah. Okay, we're going to read soon in the Haftorah the idea of Gog and Magog, and once again, the word day is found over there, and therefore we learn from there that a person, not a bad idea to eat those 3 meals. It will save us from those different things. I think we should stop here. Okay. I'm trying to remember what we learned in Michnam Eliyahu, because it's been like forever. Now I have like 6 minutes. That's also soaking, yeah. Any soaking. Oh, but thank you. You remind me. You can't do that. But what you could do and should do, you can't actively soak. Meaning putting water into something is hachana. But what you should do, or would be smart to do, is like when you is to take a dish before Shabbos and fill it up with water, and then you're just putting your dishes in there. Meaning you're allowed to do, because then that's just where you're placing your dishes. What you can't do is start soaking things because that's preparing. But if I'm just placing my dishes there, then that's fine. So either you just put like a bucket in the sink already, and when you're washing your hands, whatever it is, or you just pre-pack it. Like that's fine. Put soap in it. Like take a dish, fill it with soap, and then just dump all your dishes into that thing on Shabbos. That is 100% fine according to all the poskim. But going ahead and actively soaking your chillin pot cannot be done. Okay. Give me 3 seconds. If I remember. If I don't. I don't. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Next time I should bring my Michnam Eliyahu over here. I didn't think. What was the odds of us actually doing this, right? Okay. Have a great day. We will pick up tomorrow.